No, you're fine. Well, good morning. It's still morning. Yeah. Good morning. Appreciate everybody being here today. Appreciate the media showing up, and appreciate the staff being here as well. This is a great opportunity for us to showcase some of the good work we have going on in our region, in the upstate region. So I'm excited to share with you and showcase with you this grant that we've received for Greenwood and some of our surrounding counties. I am Dr. Candy Fredier. I'm the Upstate Region Health Director for Public Health with DHEC. And Greenwood's one of my counties and my home county, so excited to be here in my home county today to have some conversation. And we do have some individuals here, which I'm really excited to hear what they have to say. They've got some detailing on the grant, and we'll provide some of those details for y'all in the next few minutes. But we are excited to announce that we have received this grant through the National Association of County and City Health Officials. The title of the grant is Comprehensive Community Approaches to Preventing Substance Use, or CCAPS. I have to read that because that's a mouthful. We like our acronyms too, so but this is a large-scale grant for us, very competitive grant nationally that we were awarded for primarily Greenwood, Lawrence, and Union counties, but the surrounding counties as well. And some of our unique partnerships are allowing us to expand that somewhat as well. You'll hear about that in a minute. Broadly speaking, this grant is aimed at looking at adverse childhood experiences, particularly in those families and those situations who are experiencing substance use, and how those are so interrelated, and how we need to have partnerships and community systems in place to begin addressing at a fundamental and foundational level those issues that we're seeing in our communities. We've got to take this systematic approach to it, and we've got to start getting creative with working across multi-sectors and different partnerships to affect some of that change. We also have some partnerships with Healthy U in Union, with Cornerstone here in Greenwood, WEPAC, here in a minute you'll hear from WEPAC regarding the partnership there, which is allowing us to expand our focus with this grant. It's allowing us to reach broadly out into our communities as it relates to substance use and adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. You'll hear us say ACEs. I think this starts a collective conversation for us in our communities to help us all come to the table and talk about how substance use is impacting our community and how can we bring our resources to the table to coordinate and plan for success for our families. That's the goal here, broadly speaking. We've got some special guests here with us to detail out some of the components of the grant and why we did what we did, why we focused on this area. So I'm going to turn it over to Emma Kennedy. Emma is with DHEC and a great partner of ours. I call it internal partnering here between the regions and our central office. But Emma is the director of the Division of Injury and Substance Use Prevention and is greatly responsible for us getting this grant. And so she's going to detail out some of the components of the grant and some of the data that led us to this particular area of the state. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Emma.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So as Candy said, I'm just going to sort of lay out the burden of substance use disorder. I'll call it SUD and ACEs, and nationally, and then the state, and then I'll get into Greenwood, Warren, and Union counties. So you can see why we chose. I think, as folks who live here, you understand why we chose these sites, but the data is really telling us that story. So drug overdose deaths in the United States continue to rise. The CDC provisional drug overdose deaths for October 2021 is 16% higher than the year before, same time the year before. Unfortunately, we're still seeing these increases in South Carolina with about 2,000 predicted drug overdose deaths in October 2021, and that's 21% higher than the same time last year. We recently put out a drug overdose mortality report.
Sandra, please call extension 6300, Sandra 6300.
For the year 2020, and Greenwood, Warren, and Union counties have experienced high rates of all drug overdoses, high all drug overdose rates, and it's higher than the state rate of 34.8. I just have to say that, we're seeing these increases in drug overdose deaths, and it's being driven by the powerful synthetic opioid fentanyl. In South Carolina, we've seen increases in fake pills containing fentanyl, as well as other drugs, to include cocaine and methamphetamine. The CDC defines ACEs as preventable, potentially traumatic events that occur in childhood, and studies indicate that ACEs predispose children to later substance use disorder in adolescence and adulthood. They're common. About 61% of adults surveyed across 25 states indicate they have at least one type of ACE. And in South Carolina in 2019, 32% of adults surveyed report 4 or more ACEs, and that's much higher than the 17% reported nationally. In Greenwood and Lawrence counties, 59% of adults report an ACE, in which 27% report an ACE from household substance use. And it's the same in Union County. 58% of adults report ACEs, and 21 have an ACE from household substance use. So as Candy mentioned, in response to these numbers and this rise, NACCHO awarded 7 jurisdictions, to include DHEC and our partners, this wonderful grant opportunity, CAPS, as Candy said. And it's gonna allow us to work with our partners to expand our SUD and ACEs prevention strategies. And just overall, our SUD prevention strategy is an ACEs prevention strategy. We're gonna be implementing evidence-based programs with our partners to include targeted interventions in Greenwood and Union counties with the BOTFIN Life Skills Parenting Curriculum and the Strengthening Families Parenting Curriculum, and this is respectively. So in Greenwood, they're going to be doing BOTFIN Life Skills, and in Greenwood, the Strengthening Families program, as well as working with the Western Piedmont Educational Consortium to implement the Handle with Care program. The Handle with Care program is kind of near and dear to my heart as someone who's from West Virginia, and I'm just so fortunate we're going to be able to get this work started here in South Carolina. It's a program out of the Center for West Virginia's Children's Justice, and it aims to prevent children's exposure to trauma, mitigate the harmful effects of trauma, as well as increase knowledge and awareness around that issue. So the Handle with Care program is a school and community-based partnership. So when law enforcement go out to a scene, potentially traumatic scene for a child, anything, it could be a fire, an overdose, anything that could be traumatic to a child, and a child is present, before the start of the next school day, they send an alert to the school that says, simply handle this child with care. So then the school administrators, counselors, teachers are on alert that this child's gonna need a little bit more grace. They can begin implementing those trauma-informed practices and get this child mental health resources that they need. So these are wonderful, wonderful programs, and we're just so fortunate for this opportunity. We're through the roof. So one of our partners, I'm gonna kick it off to Dr. Jim Super at DHEC.
I appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Jim Suber, and I'm the Executive Director of DHEC, but I'll tell you a little bit about my background. This is actually my first full year as the Executive Director at DHEC. I spent 41 years in public education, and I came through the ranks. I was a teacher, a coach, an athletic director, an assistant principal, a principal, and then moved to the district office as an assistant superintendent of operations. And then my last 5 years was as a superintendent in Newberry County Schools. So this is also near and dear to our heart as to what we're doing as well. But what I want to talk about a little bit today is just, first of all, I want to tell you a little bit about DHEC and what our purpose is. And some of you may already know this, but the Western Piedmont Education Consortium is a collaboration from 13 school districts, and those 13 school districts include, and obviously most of you are from some of these areas, Abbeville County, Anderson 3, Edgefield County, Greenwood 50, Greenwood 51, Greenwood 52, Lawrence 55, Lawrence 56, Lexington 3, McCormick, Newberry, Saluda, and Union, which you've heard those names. So those are the districts that are involved. We also have affiliate members as well. Lander University here in Greenwood is a huge partner, as well as Piedmont Tech here in Greenwood. And we also have another affiliate that's from the Governor's School of Agriculture at John Della Howe. We also have an extremely strong partnership with Clemson University. Over the years, Clemson has provided programs for professional development, degree advancement, and doctoral degrees, master's degrees in educational leadership, and they are also right now in the some of our school districts offering leadership programs to those that want to be a part of that. So we're excited about what we've got going on. But now I want to talk to you a little bit about the purpose. You see on the agenda the purpose of WEPEC and what we do. And I took this, I looked in our Constitution because I had to refresh, because I know what those 4 or 5 factors are, but there's a whole list, and I'm not going to bore you with all that. But I'm going to tell you some of the primary things that we do. And we support legislation at the state and the federal levels that improve educational opportunities for our India students that we serve in all of these school districts I just mentioned. We work with a variety with government and private agencies such as the State Department of Education, the South Carolina Association of School Administrators, the South Carolina Legislature, and those of you, if you pick the paper up, you read or you see it on TV or hear it on the radio, legislature's in session, they're working on budget, so been spending a lot of time with our liaison to the legislature, and spend a lot of time online and seeing what bills are being passed or not passed is near and dear to our hearts as educators. But we also work with hand in hand with members of the House and members of the Senate here in the state of South Carolina. DHEC is obviously a huge partner, and I'll talk a little bit about that partnership in a minute. And then we also, and this is more on the local level, but we also work with the municipalities that we serve and with the county governments that we serve throughout the consortium. So what do? We provide educational research in a variety of ways, best practices that we share with our groups, and collaborative job-alike groups. And what we've got, and I won't read all of them off, but we've got 16 collaborative job-alike groups, and those groups come together to do that professional development, or just to simply bounce things off of each other. I mean, Faye will tell you, but when we have our WEPEC board consists of all of our superintendents and the representatives from Piedmont Tech and from Lander and Delahau. But we'll always have an open session where anybody got anything that's not on the agenda that you want to talk about. And y'all all know this because you know there's strength in numbers. And when there may be one school district that is having an issue with something that is near and dear to them, and they say, but you know what, right now our parents are kicking back, or the community's kicking back, you know, what are you guys doing? And we had a lot of those kind of conversations when COVID-19 came around, and we're doing the contact tracing and what kind of quarantine was going to be done, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's nice to have somebody that you can relate to that's going through some of the same things you're doing to help with that. So we also assist WEPEC districts and affiliated partner agencies with development of funding projects at the local, state, and federal level, and that's where this comes in, because we are certainly a part of this. So what about our partnership with DHEC? First of all, it's extremely important that we have that, but I'm not going to stand here and sugarcoat it, and I can only speak for Newberry County. We always had a very positive relationship with DHEC. But until 2 or 3 years ago, we did not have a seat at the table with DHEC like we have for the last 2 to 3 years. And you know, they say there's a silver lining in every cloud. Well, that has happened now, and that's part of you know why we are here. But it, without a doubt, has enhanced our partnership because we have gone through the pandemic. But DHEC was invited, not just locally, but here. What we did, we invited DHEC to come, and when we first started, and Dr. Strickland was still in charge, we didn't do Zoom that first year. All of it was long distance phone calls, but we started getting DHEC involved. And over the last 2 years, on a monthly basis, with our board, Dr. Fadair and Buck is not here today, but Buck has absolutely been a wonderful partner as well. They have been, most of the time, they have been face to face at every one of our WEPEC board meetings on a monthly basis. And when they couldn't be there face to face, one or the other always came on virtually. We advanced to Zoom now, so we can do things like that. But they have been there, and they have been answering any question that we've had and shared some of the same concerns and frustrations that we had, because y'all know, I mean, y'all know that there were times where somebody, well, DHEC said this today, but it changed yesterday. Well, you know what? That's just the way it's going to be. But I can't begin to express my sincere gratitude to you and Buck, the time that you have spent with our school districts and forming this partnership. But that is what has happened today, and that's why we're here today, is because of the positive relationships that we have established, because of the collaboration that has taken place over the last 2 or 3 years, and the outstanding teamwork, that we're here to celebrate the CCAPS program and that becoming a reality. And what a great opportunity with the things that you just heard and the rest of the story, if you will, that's going to benefit not just the WEPEC consortium, not just those 3 counties that we're focusing on, but this will spread across the state of South Carolina. And I'm glad to be a part, and our organization is glad to be a part of what I think is a trailblazing opportunity. And I thank you for starting that, because if you had not called and said, hey, we're looking at this grant, would you look at maybe partnering with us? And I'll admit it, I was a little bit skeptical to start with. There were a lot of things on the table, but once I saw it, and ultimately, this is the ultimate goal, once I saw what it was going to do for the children that we serve in this school, in this consortium, which is over 40,000 children, it was a no-brainer. So thank you for having us at the table, and thank you for the partnership. Appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Faith Sprouse, Superintendent in Ware Shoals, Greenwood 51, the northern part of the county. We actually serve students in 3 counties, Abbeville, Greenwood, and Lawrence. So we're a mixed up bunch. But I've been superintendent for 21 years now, in public education for 38. So I've seen a lot of changes, and many of them not so positive, as you all can attest to. The social issues that we've dealt with have become much more complicated and more deadly, I will say. And it's a very sad thing that our children are being affected by the decisions of adults, and then all too often, generational cycle. It just continues. So what can we do? We have to maintain our positivity. We have to do what we can do. And this grant is something that we can do to try to affect change. And I'm just ever grateful for this opportunity. You know, our schools are places of academia, right? We get the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, but they're also places to address the social issues that are the focus of this grant. ACEs and substance abuse impact brain development and lead to functional differences in learning. Research tells us that students exposed to ACEs have 5 times more problems with attendance, 6 times more likely to have behavior problems, and 3 times more likely to suffer from academic failure. And that's a fact. I mean, that's so tough to watch children who, by no fault of their own, coming into this world, we can't choose our parents. They come into this world and they're exposed to these conditions, and we can't prevent it. That's what's the frustrating part. They come to us and, you know, it's already happened in many cases. We're also seeing more students of all ages with serious mental health issues due to ACEs and substance abuse. It's just very overwhelming at times, and very disheartening to see our youngest babies with issues, and they can't understand why. So it is important that we work together to educate ourselves about the interventions that can be done with parents and with children. It can't just be with children. We've got to do the whole family, the parent educators, from that, and nutrition, and it's all so important. And we have to double down, triple down on our prevention efforts. That's the key, keeping it from happening. So I applaud DHEC's leadership, grant writership, and obtaining this grant and including us so that we can provide help for children provide help for our school staff so that we can more effectively address the issues that are negatively impacting our communities. It's a community issue. So we are appreciative of this opportunity to be a partner. When I heard about the Handle with Care, I think my hand was the first to go up.
It was.
It was a race, you know, I want to be a part, because I am a third grade teacher, okay? I love the babies. Now my office is in the high school now, so, you know, I love children of all ages, but my heart is with the young babies, and, you know, they show up every day in our schools with something on their mind. We say they don't check that baggage at the door. You know, they bring it with it. It's not visible all the time, but they've got those burdens. And how can we have them provide effective learning environments when all that is weighing heavily on their minds? So if we have some way of knowing that something terrible, you know, happened in their home the night before, just so that we can provide some counseling, provide extra TLC that day, I think that will go a very long ways in helping us to understand. You know, the key to doing something, helping people, is understanding. You know, we have to understand what's going on. So I'm just very excited about being able to have that link, and to be able to provide some additional resources for students of all ages. I've had high schoolers just walk in my office and tell me about the police being at their house the night before. So it's not just the little ones that it affects. They may not understand as well as the older ones, but it's happening all over. So thank you for including us. We're happy to be a part of this. Not so happy that it's happening, but y'all, we're all in this together, and pooling our resources is a start, and maintaining the focus on education, on being active, and doing our part, and helping our children and helping our communities be better places and stronger places to learn, live, and grow. Thank you very much.
Let's out here. So I hope what you heard through the conversations here is, you know, the title of the grant has the words comprehensive and community in it. So our approach with this is going to be comprehensively across our counties, because the data is pointing us in our counties, unfortunately. What can we do to help support our systems? What can we do to help support our education systems? Because it's going to take all of us to be successful through this process. The word community was in that as well. So it's not a DHEC problem, it's not an education system problem, it's not a law enforcement problem, it's a community issue that we've got to really seriously start thinking from a systems standpoint, how do we address? But do appreciate, I want to say thank you to Emma and Faye and Jim for being here today. This is a prime example of how when we all come together and we're just willing to talk and ask questions, some good things can really happen. So in terms of what to expect going forward, this grant is going to help provide some resources in terms of staffing, resources in terms of training out here locally. So we expect to have some momentum here soon with some of those staffing positions being filled, to really start working more intentionally, and use the word intentional, about us addressing these issues with schools, with law enforcement, really with anybody who will sit down and listen to us. So we hope for and expect that we can start really implementing some of these programs soon, and I'm hoping this fall we can really get into it, kind of plan in the summer and with implementation in the fall, so that we can start making those incremental steps to make a difference collectively as a community, not as an agency, not as a program, but as a community. That's the goal here. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for presenting, and see if anybody has any questions for us.